As Flyers, what was it? Are they sinking or streaking?
Well, they're sinking. They're stinking. They're going in the wrong direction after they had that 10-game winning streak in December. That seems so long ago. They've lost 4 straight on the road, 5 overall, 7 of 8 since the streak ended on December 17th. Not great numbers that we read off for the Philadelphia Flyers right now.
No, it hasn't been there, Coatsy. Welcome inside the studios of 97.3 ESPN.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Happy New Year to both of you.
Hey, Happy New Year to you. So what's the verdict? 10 straight wins, and now all of a sudden some slippage. What's the headline?
They're
you got
sinking.
some really neat. You got some. You had the vocabulary out last night, didn't you? You had the dictionary out.
Well,
slippage. You got stinking. You got sinking. You got a lot of different things
wishful
going on there,
thinking.
Thompson.
Some wishful
thinking is very good because that's the way you've got to look at it. You can't look at it half full. I mean, half empty. It's half full. So they've got problems. They've got a little bit of a setback. But if you take a look at it and diagnose it, first of all, you have a big win over the Washington Capitals. Then you go up and you get your butt handed to you by the New Jersey Devils at the simultaneous time that their general manager calls them out, both their playing ability and their physical ability to be able to take on the game of hockey. Mm-hmm. So they go up and they just absolutely whack.
3 days before the Christmas break.
That's right. So then now you've got to go on the road.
Which is always a tough break.
It is. We haven't won out there in the last 2 years. And if you take a look at it, you got St. Louis is a big team. Anaheim's a big team. And so are the San Jose Sharks. Mm-hmm. The San Jose Sharks and Anaheim are number 1 and number 2 in the Pacific Division. St. Louis is number 2 in the Central Division. So if you take all those consideration, size seems to be the thing that comes to play. And is it a game breaker? No. But it's still a problem for this hockey team right now when they face especially big forwards. The Flyers do not have a big defense. And it becomes a little bit of a problem when you got the likes of a Getzlaf, the likes of a Kreider last night, Thornton in San Jose. These guys are big forwards.
Kreider goes 6'3", 228, just to throw some numbers on to what you're saying there.
Yes, thank you.
Yep, big guys.
And Getzlaf's about the same size. You got you take a look at Joe Thornton, he's 6'5". And you have that ability to be able to use the net, get below the goal line. It becomes a little bit of a tough time. And that's not an excuse. What I'm looking at is that's something in common that you have right now with this hockey team. You've got the simultaneous situation where you're not getting the same goaltending you got on the run that you had, where you're not getting that big save during the big part of the game, where the rhythm becomes very important in the game. And it's also a time where the league's really got a lot of parity. And so when you have a couple of days off, as far as not being on top of your game, you're going to lose hockey games. And that's what's happening right now with this team. Am I worried about it? I really am not. I think that the coaching staff's spectacular. I think there's a lot of leadership on this team. I still have faith in the goaltending, and I think it'll be fine.
So what was going right during the 10-gamer? I mean, you got to have a lot of bounces, and, instead of hitting the post, that goes in, certain little quirks like that. But what was going right during a 10-game streak that's maybe not going their way now?
I think you can isolate every individual aspect of a team. Power play was probably number 1 and number 2 back and forth there for an awful long time in the National Hockey League. The penalty kill was outstanding. They were scoring a lot more 5-on-5, and Mason was spectacular.
The 5-on-5 has been an issue.
Yes, and the
most
defense,
of the year, other than 10 games.
And also during that, this team is the number 1 scoring defense in the National Hockey League. That hasn't been the case in the last while. Look, last night, Provorov didn't have any shots on net. And Brandon Manning, no shots on net. So all these different things happening. So all the things I just mentioned that were working now are not working. And collectively, that's what catches up with you.
Yeah, Provorov, you see him, a 19-year-old kid, Konecny, a 19-year-old kid. Are you starting to see it? And Provorov seems like he is steadily getting better and better and better. But both of them, 19 years old, to think they're going to be consistent night in and night out, I think that's a fairy tale that we all take for granted that, hey, you're on the team, you're playing in the NHL, we want you to be consistent regardless of age. That's probably not something that is fair.
It's fair only to the people that actually – that's a very good point. I got to go backwards in commenting on that. When you take a look at the young kids, it drives our general manager crazy because he's a true believer that you got to go to the minors to be able to get things done properly, both mentally and physically. That's the way you're going to mature. Did they deserve to be on the hockey club, both Provorov and Konecny? Yes, they did it. They've done really well, but you're still going to get the blip. Doesn't know when the blip's going to come. Last night, Provorov had the opportunity to be able to hold the puck in with the goaltender pulled, and instead of getting his body in front of it, he took a whack at it with a stick. Grabner goes by him, and it's those little things that creep up on you when you have a young player in the lineup.
Isn't that the one thing real fast on the NHL that's a little bit of an issue is you get a guy 19, and his only options are either big club or juniors a lot of times. And he's too good to go back down, but maybe he could be somewhere in the middle. That's a tough decision for these guys.
Oh, it's terrible. It's a terrible decision because, there's so much heat on the team because, like a guy like Provorov, everybody in the world said, well, Provorov's got to make your team. I mean, he's the number one defenseman counting in Canada. How are you not going to have him make your team? It just doesn't make sense if he doesn't make your team. Well, he makes our team. He does a great job, but you got to expect he's going to make mistakes. He's only 19 years old. I mean, the game was way too fast for him at the beginning of the season. He really, really improved immensely. We've learned that he has a learning curve that's really impressive. But still, I mean, Konecny's struggling right now, and it's probably going to get a little bit worse before it'll get better because he's still learning the game at this level. This is not an easy jump, and it's just part of the learning experience for a team. The team still goes through an 82-game schedule where you are constantly learning and understanding what you need to do to win a hockey game after 60 minutes of play, both home and away. And this is a work in progress.
Let's talk about goaltending, Coatsy, because I know that Flyers fans have long wanted and wondered when they're going to get a franchise goalie. And you look at last night's game, Henrik Lundqvist made a big difference for the Rangers, and the Flyers still seem to be searching for that franchise guy. In fact, Mike and I talked earlier in the show about the wealth of talent that they have in the system. Anthony Stolarz, Alex Lyon, Merrick Madsen, Carter Hart, Felix Stanstrom. Those guys both were in the junior game last night playing on the TV. Ivan Fedotov, or the Russian guy, the 6'6" Russian they drafted. I mean, there's all kinds of goalies that Hexie has seemed to stockpile to try and find that answer. How much is goaltending an issue for the Flyers, and when do you think they finally get their version of a Henrik Lundqvist?
Well, I think if you take a look at the season, if we could have got the goaltending to be 500 at the beginning of the year as far as its ability to be able to stop the puck, they would have had a lot better record now. They really were not very good as a group, and they both admitted that they weren't very good. Then all of a sudden Neuwirth went down. Mason all of a sudden got hot. There's some people that'll tell you that the reason that happens is that Mason plays a lot better when he doesn't get any heat. No pressure. When he's the guy. Like, today you're the goalie. Tomorrow you're the goalie next week, and the goalie next week after that. But now that Neuwirth's back, it's interesting that Mason hasn't played very well. So I would imagine you're going to see Michael Neuwirth on Saturday. And it's up to them. They've got to be able to do the job back and forth. I know that Dave Haxtell is the type of guy that's going to run with the hot hand if one of them gets hot. There's no reason to make friends at this time. This is where you start playing seriously. After Christmas, you got to get it going. You go with the guy that can provide for you. That's the same with a forward or a defenseman. It doesn't make any difference. Everybody has extra people. You don't want to play or you can't play, can't keep up with the Joneses, we're going to replace you. And that's just the way it is. That's the way the game is. And if you look at the young kids coming, we saw what Stolarz could do. It looked very impressive. Looks like a big guy that can cover a lot of net. Lyon doesn't get enough credit because he's a young kid coming out of Yale University, but he's been spectacular down with with the Phantoms, rather. And the two kids you saw last night with Canada and Sweden, they're a long way away. For us to say, well, they're going to be superstars of the National Hockey League, I mean, they're a long way away. But you're on the right track when it comes to the people that you've got coming, especially when these two guys that you have right now, both Neuwirth and Mason, are free agents.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Mason's contract up after the season. Neuwirth's contract up after the season. The conventional wisdom is one gets treated well, maybe the other dispatched. They took a look at Stolarz. I mean,
I would have liked to see more of Stolarz while he was up here.
Well,
it seemed like they were just kind of like, we'll give you a shot just because.
I'll tell you what happened.
You're up here. Let's see what we got. We might have something. You know what I mean?
In my opinion, the first game he looked shaky. He couldn't catch it. He just was that much off. But then all of a sudden in the second game, he actually looked pretty good. He looked like he was in control. His best game was the game when he came in relief for Mason in San Jose. Really, really good. He was right on it and did a great job. I think there was a lot of people that actually were surprised he didn't play against Anaheim because of the way that the team had lost and the way that the team had played. You'd lost 3 games on the road with Mason, that they would come back with him. But it was a game they needed. It was a game they had to show some faith in the goaltender, and they came back with Mason. So the situation, the way the cap is, the way people are signed, all the different things are involved as far as the line of authority, not line of authority, but the chart, the depth chart tells you what it dictates what you've got and who you're going to run with.
Well, and it doesn't matter if it was Steve Mason or Michael Neuvert in goal last night. When the Flyers give up multiple odd man rushes going the other way, those pucks are generally going to end up in the back of your net, and the Rangers scored 3 of their 5 goals on odd man rushes. Those are breakdowns. We
kind of put a clinic on how not to play a 2-on-1 on a number of occasions. I mean, it was the 2 goals.
I heard
by
the one
Kevin
goal
Hayes.
in the car. You were mentioning about Gudas. He just basically he had a turnover in the end there, and it was
Well, Gudas did, and then Gudas and Delzato lost Kreider on the 1 goal. Then Hayes had the 2 opportunities on a 2-on-1, and because of the lack, I think, of communication going back on that 2-on-1, he ended up taking the shot and got both goals on Mason. And that's just the communication has to be between the defenseman and the goaltender. And there just wasn't there, and as a result, ends up in your net, and you're carrying the play. That's one of those games where you carry the play. You don't score, and then you come back on an odd man rush and you score.
Steve Coates is in studio with us, Mike and Pete, here on the Sports Bash 97.3.
Talk a little hockey,
ESPN. Yeah, man. And, hey, we're at that point of the year. This is where you just said, now it's time. You got to keep up with the Joneses, right?
Right.
And it seems like they have kind of danced around all year with injuries and having a full roster. It seems now that all these guys are starting to come back, and they're going to have to start figuring out who stays, who goes.
Well, you've been carrying 8 defensemen, and it's a good thing and a bad thing because nobody likes to have to carry a guy that's not happy, getting on the plane, off the plane, on the train, off the train, on the bus, off the bus, practicing and really not showing any let's say, happiness because you're not having the opportunity to play. But with this hockey club, because of the injuries and the ability to be able to rotate the 8 defensemen, then pretty well everybody's got in over the last period of time. But now you're going to get Mark Streit back. You've got Matt Reed back. You've got Couturier back. You're going to have everybody available. So this is going to be an advantage for the coach because it goes back to what I mentioned. The only way to get to a player today is by sitting him in the stands. It used to be that you could send him to the minors for a day. You could do all different things to get a guy all mad and make him understand. Now, the only way to get him is to be able to put him in the stands.
And they did that to TK on the trip, and then Cousins was the guy last night. Was that a message?
They did it to
Cousins
Ghost a couple
it's
of weeks
not a
ago.
message. No, it's not. It's there's a time with younger players that they're going to do that. They have an idea how many times they want to play him. There's times where there's a back-to-back where they might not play them according to what type of player they are, how big they are, all the different things that come into play. We have sports medicine guys now that tell you, different scientific facts, which I still haven't really got the full idea about it yet. But
Dr. Coates?
They wear, can you play? Yeah, okay, good. Thank you. They get a second opinion? Yeah, I got to play. But they have monitors that they wear now that tests all different things to tell you how they are. So they got to be constantly in shape. They can't be like us, just sitting there drinking beer all day and then going playing hockey.
We're visiting with Flyers radio analyst Steve Coates here in studio as we get to talk a little bit of hockey. And yes, Flyers did have that 10-game win streak. Since then, it's been a 1-5-2 skid. I guess last night, Coach Hackstall said that when they were winning games, they were playing well defensively. And one of the things I want to get into you with is that's not just the 6 D-men that you dress in the game. There's two-way hockey involved from your forwards, too, where a lot of the mistakes start. If you could break that down of where turnovers, it's a forward that coughs up the puck and starts a rush in the other direction. The goalie and the D-men are the last 2 guys. They're the last line of defense trying to get back. There's more responsibility. When they say that they haven't played well defensively, it's not just the 6 guys that are D-men.
Yeah, they're usually the ones you point the finger at, but if you take a look, I'll use that my answer is if you watch the New York Rangers last night, if you watch the St. Louis Blues last week, those are two teams that, like, and San Jose, no different, just flat out smother you. Smother you. If you have the puck in the corner to the left of Lundqvist, they're going to send everybody. They're going to send three after you, and then have other two are not going to be on the other side of the ice. They're all going to be on and around the circle, and there was just nowhere to go, and the Flyers did not react to it. There's a way to react to it, and they did not. And they are going to have to learn how to react to that type defense to be successful against teams like San Jose, St. Louis, and the New York Rangers.
Flyers had their 10-game win streak. Is there a team out there in the league that's going to be able to knock off Columbus? I mean, you look at the league and you look at, by the way, former Flyer there, Sergei Bobrovsky, doing the job for the Blue Jackets.
Well, Bob's always done a good job. I mean, Bob did a good job with the Philadelphia Flyers. He was just caught up in a time. If you look back at Bob, Michael Layton, Brian Boucher, all played in the same round against the Buffalo Sabres. And that was when Peter Laviolette was here.
You
and
forget,
I know,
too, that Mason and Bob were traded for each other.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you see,
And you got Stolars with that pick.
when you take a look at the hindsight of it, Bob should have been the guy to stay here. There was really no reason. But because Bob, Layton, and Bush had played in that playoff, that was at a time where Mr. Schneider got a little upset, and he wanted a goaltender. And the goaltender they went and got was Brizgalov because he was the best guy that was available at that time.
Flyers radio analyst Steve Coates with us as we talk about this recent slide in the Flyers. They have Tampa, then Columbus is the next game after that. Well, they're just hanging into that wild card spot. If the season was over today, they would be a playoff team. Do you see this team making the playoffs again this season and making some noise come spring?
That's a double-edged question. You can't all of a sudden you're going to get greedy. You make the playoffs, and now you're going to say, yeah, you're going to make noise when she gets there? Oh, my goodness. Of course I'd say that. First of all, I'm going to tell you they're going to make the playoffs. I truly believe, as much as this is the toughest division in hockey, the Metropolitan Division, when you take against you got the Washington Capitals, New York Rangers, the now powerful Columbus Blue Jackets and the Pittsburgh Penguins. So you've got to be able to look and guide yourself in hoping that you can stay ahead of the Boston Bruins and the team they're playing Saturday afternoon, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay struggling for numerous probably reasons. Their goaltending hasn't been very good, and they've lost Steve Stamkos for probably another month and a half to 2 months, and that's a big loss to them. So you got to take advantage of that. Florida's on the downhill as far as that other division is concerned. So you've got to look at what the other division's doing, and the Flyers need to keep up with this group to be able to get there. And I truly believe in Dave Hextall. I think that if you look at Dave Hextall's career record as a coach, every year he's coached, whether what level, his teams always get better.
That's true.
Always.
Who's been the most consistent Flyer?
The most consistent Flyer, Wayne Simmonds.
I was going to say, Simmonds got to be
Wayne
the guy,
Simmonds,
right?
not even a question.
He an All-Star this year?
He should be in the what? As far as the All-Star game, yeah, he should be in the All-Star game.
Because, I mean, I guess you look at Philly a lot of times around nationally, it's Giroux, Voracek. Those two guys are typically the first two names. Simmonds seems like he's more of the role player, but seems like he's surpassed the role player status.
Oh, he's way above that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a player that's just got better and better and better, and he's doing things that, and understand, too, that no matter where you put him, he brings you the same thing. He has played with everybody. It's not like you've kept Voracek and like you got Giroux, Voracek, and whoever wants to play on the left side today. I mean, we've had everybody on the left side.
Are they going to bring you back for left wing?
No. I actually could play the same way I did when I did play. I sat at the end of the bench and I cheered.
In the alumni game.
And opened the gate. I opened the gate. You got it. It's very important.
That's what it is.
Somebody's got to open the gate.
That's right.
But a guy like Simmonds, no matter who he plays with on a line, is still effective. And I don't think there's anybody at doing what he does on the power play in the National Hockey League. First of all, it's a very unique position to stand at the right part of we're one of the few teams that do that. A lot of teams don't do that, like on an assistant basis. But he's so good at it, you can't have him not there.
Do you read anything into goal differential? Because as I looked through the teams that would be in the playoffs today, one of the few that was struggling, at least out of the Metropolitan Division, the Flyers are in the red. They're a -7 right now in goal differential. The teams that are way up there, Columbus is a +52, Montreal's a +29, Washington's a +22. Is that a stat you read into at all?
All the time. And actually, you want to diagnose it a little further. take it down to the teams that all have the best goals against average. I mean, you take a look at San Jose, take a look at Montreal. Those are the teams that have the New York Rangers, not that great compared to other teams. But if you look at the teams that have the best or the lowest goals against, they're the ones that are probably in the top group in all the divisions. Right off the top of my head, I can tell you that.
Where are you going next? Where are you guys at?
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Saturday afternoon.
That game's in Tampa? Man,
no, here.
And
then leave right away. Go to Columbus. Play Columbus on Sunday.
Okay.
Come home.
1 o'clock here on 97.3.
No, and then go to Buffalo, which is one of my all-time favorite. I hope the beach is open when I get there in Buffalo.
They still playing at the Aud?
Yeah, they should. They play at the HSBC Center, which is the nicest building in town. And then we come home and then go back on the road, play at Washington, at Boston, and have a week off. Actually, opposite that, at Boston, at Washington.
Was that for the All-Star?
No, it's not. It's a National Hockey League Players Association rule done in the collective bargaining agreement that every team gets a week off.
You just had one.
You don't have to yell at me. I'm not the one. I go where they tell me to go.
All right.
Saturday, they say, take a week off. What are you going to do? No.
Saturday, 1 o'clock, you'll hear Tim Saunders and Steve Coates here on 97.3 ESPN as they take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's a team that's been giving this team trouble for years,
yes,
it seems like.
Yes, they're a very talented hockey club. They got big defense, very small forwards that scoot around, and it's just a team right now that I think could be had. They've really struggled. And Bishop is out. Vasilevsky, who's their backup, who I think was better than Bishop, is still a guy that's a pretty good goaltender. But
I liked Bishop the year he was a free agent.
Oh, when he was with Ottawa?
Yeah.
So that was one of your, I'd like to have had him.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I know that trade season will start coming up. This team, as we said, they've had a lot of roster things. Do you think Hextall hasn't been tempted to do that yet? Is this the year he makes an in-season splash? He's been very steadfast on keeping these young guys.
I understand.
And I'm not insinuating that he's going to trade young guys. I'm talking about some of the
we have some
guys
people.
Who've been here.
Let's put it this way: in the scheme of things, with what you have coming, what you have on your roster right now, I would think
this is a prime year.
Yeah, you would have an ability to be able to do something, especially with the number of young defensemen that you think that are capable of playing in the National Hockey League that you have in Phantoms, but maybe not play with you. Like a guy like Robert Haig would be a guy whose name came right out, or Mark Alt that was just up and had to be sent back. These guys are all potential National Hockey Leaguers that you could trade to make yourself better. Mm-hmm. I think they still need a left winger. I'm not going to deny that. They still need a bona fide left winger.
All right, Steve Coates, I know a lot of people in the building want to shake your hand.
Why, do I owe money to them?
No, but we sure loved having you.
Yeah, this is fun.
In
we should
studio
do this more
with
often.
Coatesy.
Well, I'll stay for another hour and a half, and that's it. No, I got to go.
Happy New Year to you, pal.
Hey, same to you, Michael. Thank you, Peter.